thanks very much to Fiona and all the team at Spinal Injuries Ireland. I'm going to start off with saying it's a real privilege to be standing here in front of you today. And you'll know why I use that really strong word, privilege, because it is. And I can't wait to share my story as a person who is now post-SCI up and walking, and the different aspects that I've had to deal with as we went through my life. So 26th of October 2018, it's a day in my life that changed every fibre of who I was, what I was, and who I wanted to be. It was the day that I suffered a grade A spinal cord injury. And if I knew at that time the mental, physical and emotional torture I was about to go through, I really don't know how I would have coped. And probably my best tool at that time was actually not knowing. So it was. But I won't go into too much in relation to how the accident happened or anything like that, other than to say that some words I always hold on to was the surgeon put his hand on my shoulder after he asked me the question is, have I any questions for him? And he put his hands, and I asked him, is this the way I'm going to be? And he put his hands on his shoulder and just said, sorry, you've been very, very unlucky. And got up and walked out. And at that moment, I remember I had some very, very negative thoughts. Thoughts I'm not going to share today because it goes down a totally different avenue. But then after that, my friends and family came into me, or my family came into me. And I remember their looks on their faces of pure and utter worry. They were tired. They were anxious talking to me. I remember always remembering their faces. And again, they knew more at that stage than I did. And when that evening, and I had obviously these negative thoughts going through my mind, I said to myself, do you know what? I'm going to be the most mentally strong patient this Mara Hospital has ever had seen. And why did I do that? At that time, it wasn't about myself. I was so worried about how my family, my wife, my poor kids, and people who worked for me down at Athenry, if they saw somebody up in the Mara Hospital really, really struggling, it would put massive pressure on them down there. They'd be more worried than they needed to be. So as I tried to change my mindset from that negative mindset to a positive mindset, it just didn't happen like that. You can't just do things like that. I looked at what tools I had in my box. Tools I'd always used throughout my life. One was I knew hard work. My upbringing as a farmer's horticulture son, selling fruit and veg and in the markets around Galway and Athenry, and my sporting background, I knew hard work equals reward. So I said, okay, I'm going to do hard work. But I also use visualization massively in my life. I always visualised about putting on the green jersey of Ireland and so on and so on. And I managed to do those things. But it was in visualisation in relation to things I could impact. I didn't visualise about winning the lotto or any of that type of things, because you can't impact that. It was stuff I could impact. So thankfully, after using those tools in my box, 21 days later, I moved my big right toe. And from that moment onwards, in a physical sense, it was so easy to keep driving forward. But I focused so much on that aspect, the physical aspect, I completely ignored everything else that was going on around me, around my world. And eventually, after moving the big right toe, I got into the NRH a little bit earlier than what was expected. And I never forget that moment I was brought in through the ward, and I think it's a 16-bed ward. And I'm sure most of you will probably agree with this. It was the most horrific but most amazing experience I've ever had. Why horrific? I went in there on the flat of my back still. But very quickly I understood that I was actually in a really good place. That they were there to make me better. No matter what the outcome was, I was going to leave this place in a better condition than when I arrived in. But also made me realise how lucky I had movement on my hands. I could eat, I could see, I could do all these things. And straight away, that mindset went from appreciating everything I had rather than everything that I didn't have. And I used that throughout the whole time in the NRH. And thankfully, through using some of the tools in my box, the amazing care, the team that are there, the people that are there, the facilities, which are vastly improved now, and I managed to get out on my 2 feet as a spinal cord injury person. But unfortunately, that's only part of the story. And I thought that was going to be my biggest battle. But no, after moving out of the NRH, within 6 or 7 weeks, I had to sign myself into a psychiatric ward. Why? Because I fell off a cliff. When you're in the NRH, you're in a place that is designed for people with disabilities. The people who work there treat you and look at you as an equal. But when I left that hospital and I went home, all my friends and family, how they looked and interacted with me was different. They now looked in pity rather than respect. The silence at home, because mentally I hadn't done any work on my mental health. I was a different person. The medication was driving me crazy, but I still needed it because I was in so much pain, so much agony. So I was. Unfortunately, at first I suffered massively from 24/7 nerve pain. Also, when I left the place, I discovered that the world around us isn't designed for people with disabilities in any shape or form. And I also had this huge sense of guilt because I'd made loads of friends, like Declan Napton, who's here today. And why I had that huge sense of guilt? Because I managed to get on my feet. And a friend I met there was still in a similar situation when we went in. But something I'd never told him. That man inspired me so much when I was in NRH, because we used to go down to the physio room together. I remember looking at Declan, fighting, just to move his fingers. And I looked at him and said, that man can fight that hard. I can fight just as hard to get as far as I could do. Now bear in mind, I said to you, I never knew. Not knowing was one of the best things that I had. So every day I applied mantra. Every day is a day to improve. I never knew I was going to get out on my 2 feet. Which is very close to the leg date. But that wasn't the goal. The goal was to improve. Day by day by day by day by day. So eventually as I said, I crashed and I went into a psychiatric ward. The day it all came to a head, the relationship with my wife was in a bad place, my ex-wife now. My poor kids obviously were suffering massively. I was separated from them for about 6 months in total. So obviously that was a struggle. But I just wasn't the right person. I was really gone dark in a deep place. Physically, I was still thriving. Mentally, I was dying. I was dating my dad, who was a farmer. He was 70 years of age. He came to me, we just built a brand new house. Right beside the farm there, the lovely lawn on the back, old shed. I was in Unsung, and my dad was building a pillar in the yard to hang a gate. Again, I'm a big, strong man. There I'm lying inside the sunroom. Now I could get up and walk maybe 30 meters. But I hadn't mastered steps, and the house hadn't been fully finished yet, so I'd get in out. So I was a prisoner within my own home. I remember I couldn't even open up the window and look out and say, hello. I couldn't even do that. There was I, 39 years of age, big, strong person, only a few months ago. Now I couldn't even help my dad. 70 years of age, doing the pillar on the floor. I actually crashed. And I remember my dad at the time had been invited to a stag party, Willie Parker's, and I just refused to go because I was in this condition I was in. I ran and walked and said, I don't want to go. I said, Willie, is there still bed there for me? He said, there is indeed. So I drove down to Limerick, but I lost all will of wanting to live. Physically, I was still in a very bad way. Mentally, I was in a very bad way. I couldn't put up with the pain. And I had that guilt about being on my feet when others that I got to know weren't. And I couldn't get over it. So I drove down to Limerick, I drank all the way down to Limerick. I was down in Limerick and then absolutely asked myself at this stag party. Drove back the next day. When I drove back the next day, came home, and my wife was in the house. And the first thing she did was got in the car, took the kids and drove off. And I was just left in silence in the house. I don't blame her. I wasn't in a good place. She was protecting the kids. So I ended up deciding that's it, don't be here. So I drove into a very well-known place. I'd given up on myself, guys. I drove into a place that's all well-known, it's a tide river. I arrived there. The tide was out, and I decided I was going to go. The tide was coming in though, and I said, okay, I'm going to go and have a couple of drinks in the pub down in the winter. When I went down there, I was having a couple of drinks, and I was well not thinking about things, but all I could think about was my pain, my anguish. Everything was mine. I got selfish in my agony and my pity for myself. So I got out of the pub and I was walking up towards the bridge, and I forget, subconsciously I heard this car pulling up beside me. I pulled up that next thing I heard was somebody running across the road. I forget the language I'm going to use here. But he literally caught me by the collar, pinned me up against the wall and said, what the fuck are you at? I remember looking at him. I was Joe Brady, a guy who had developed a good relationship back when I was playing with the Connacht Raiders, 19th National Rehabilitation team. That guy, 15, 16, 17 years later, saved my life that day. But why I bring that up massively is because relationships are key to our mental strength. We all need good relationships in our lives. Don't take them for granted, work on them, work hard on them, and enjoy them. The majority of everybody here in this room needs somebody to talk to, somebody to confide in. We all need somebody, but don't ever take it for granted. So that guy saved my life that day. I was going to the psychiatric ward. I remember being in there after about 3 days. I was so angry, so upset with life. But without technology and everything, it all just drained out of me. And I decided, if I go back on here on the same ladder that I came down with, I'm definitely going to be back in here again soon enough. So I started looking at my life in a more in-depth way. And I said to myself, when was I happiest in my life? And I thought, and it was definitely when I was 17 to 23, 24 years. It wasn't because I played rugby. I enjoyed that because I had time for people. I had time to enjoy life. I wasn't going from moment to moment to moment to moment. So I wasn't. So I said, okay, that's why I need to recreate when I get back out here. But also I discovered, why did I dive to such a depth? And I figured out I needed challenges in my life. I also needed competition. Everything I'd done in my life, from representing Ireland in underage rugby to playing soccer for Royal United, to building a business, to picking the campus class from the dad when I was doing everything was competition. When I got to NRH, I had a challenge to improve every bloody day. But when I left NRH, I had no challenges. Nothing in front of me, nothing to keep my mind focused, to keep my mind full of thoughts. Because that old saying, an empty mind is a dangerous mind. It couldn't be any more true. So eventually, what did I do? I decided within the psychiatric ward, 1 year after the anniversary of my accident, I walked across the country. Bear in mind, I could probably walk 100 metres at this stage. And I gave myself 3 months to do it. So that focused my mind, and every day I got up out of that bed, I made my bed, I got up, I walked everywhere I possibly could, walked. Bear in mind, I wasn't out in my house was back with my parents. And that served me so well, because it kept me focused. And on the 26th of October 2019, we walked through the doors of NRH, and that was my greatest achievement. Not getting back on my feet, but beating back my mental torture and improving my mental health. And who walked through that door with me? All my friends and family, from the time I was able to develop those relationships. And they're the people who helped me walk across that country. And why did I do it? To raise awareness of NRH, of spinal injuries, and to make my kids proud of me. So after that, guys, I knew I needed a challenge in my life. It didn't have to be a physical challenge, it had to be just a challenge. But I was lucky enough, I got the opportunity to try and row across the North Atlantic Ocean with a guy David Brown. On that challenge, when that opportunity arose, it was 2 years of solid training. But again, I knew that training helped me improve my physical condition, but also improve my mental strength. But it was a journey of making new friends and doing new things. We were ready for that role. And when we left, unfortunately, I only lasted 13 days, 1,000 kilometres, into the Gulf of the Gulf Stream, in world record time. And I had to be taken off the boat and to be rescued. After that again, guys, I absolutely crashed. That sense of failure engulfed me again. Failure in my body, failure in my mind, it just absolutely engulfed me. But I tried to use all those tools that I had discovered to help me get out the black hole wasn't working. So I went to my local doctor. He prescribed me antidepressants. Nothing's working, it just wasn't working. So I went back to him. I sent him to a psychologist. Within 5 or 6 sessions, I was back in the game. Why do I say that to you guys? Don't ever be afraid to ask for help. We all need it at some part of our lives. But help is there if you look first and you ask first. And if you give up on yourself, the services cannot help you and your loved ones cannot help you. Because we all think everybody else should see our suffering. But everybody else's lives are too busy to understand what you're going through. That's where you have to just put up your hand and say to yourself, I need help. And I promise you, if you do that at any stage of your lives, you'll be amazed when one crew will come to help you, and number two, the facilities that are out there for it. So, after that role, I came good. And ever since then, I've taken on smaller and smaller. And everything I do is trying to raise awareness of spinal injuries Ireland, general age, and spinal injuries in general. And I live every day with that mantra. Every day is a day to improve. Improve mentally, emotionally, physically. It doesn't matter. You can choose what aspect you want to improve on. And by doing that, brick by brick, you'll build your home. And then you'll become the king or queen of that home. But it's brick by brick. It doesn't happen overnight. So guys, my talk is more about mental health than anything else. That is my biggest accomplishment, is beating that. Staying mentally strong. That's the most important thing in your life. Because if you're mentally strong, you can achieve so much more than when you have a negative mindset.
I want to thank you for listening to my small snapshot of my story. I hope you can take something from it. And again, thank you very much, Spinal.